virus that we're talking about having to do, a lot of people think that goes away in April with the heat. Because of all we've done, the risk to the American people remains very low. People die from the flu, and this is very unusual. And it is a little bit different, but in some ways it's easier, and in some ways it's a little bit tougher. But we have it so well under control. View this the same as the flu. When somebody sneezes, I try and bail out as much as possible. It's going to disappear. One day it's like a miracle. It will disappear. And from our shores, it could get worse before it gets better. It could maybe go away. We'll see what happens. Nobody really knows. The fact is, the greatest experts, I've spoken to them all, nobody really knows. We're ordering a lot of supplies. We're ordering a lot of elements that, frankly, we wouldn't be ordering unless it was something like this. But we're ordering a lot of different elements of medical. Now the Democrats are politicizing the coronavirus. And this is their new hoax. If you're healthy, you will probably go through a process and you'll be fine. You take a solid flu vaccine, you don't think that would have an impact or much of an impact on corona?
No. He's asking the question, when is it going to be deployable? And that is going to be at the earliest a year to a year and a half, no matter how fast you go.
I think that's right. And as you said, because treatment's going to be available before the vaccine.
Well, I think treatment in many ways might be more exciting.
If, we have thousands or hundreds of thousands of people that get better just by, sitting around and even going to work. Some of them go to work, but they get better.
So President Trump has finally stopped referring to the coronavirus as being fake news. This week saw the US go into full-blown coronavirus panic mode, not just in response to a series of daily stock market crashes as the market scrambled to discount a trend that I've been warning the probability of since early February, but that the US tally of infections and deaths has now started to go parabolic, which is not just because of newly infected, but rather that the US program for coronavirus testing has been abysmally poor, that has sown the seeds for the catastrophe that is about to take place, which will manifest itself in the case fatality rate far in excess of South Korea's 0.7% to probably nearer to 3%. US coronavirus infections are going parabolic trend forecast update. My US trend forecast is for 13,000 infected by the end of March, resulting in about 180 deaths. Though I've often warned that the actual number will turn out to be significantly higher because of the lack of US action to take the coronavirus seriously enough, where many are still shrugging it off as not being much worse than the flu, such as President Trump has tended to do. Instead, at best, it is at least 15 times as deadly as the flu, and depending on the quality of healthcare response, could be as much as 100 times as deadly. The latest infections data has the number of infected literally going parabolic, soaring by 351 to 1680 to well above my trend forecast. Were this trend to continue into the end of March 2020, then the number of infected in the US would rise to 27,300. So the US is in the very early stages of explosive growth in the numbers of infected, which makes a mockery of President Trump's travel ban because it's too bloody late. The horse is already bolted. Instead, the US should be busy testing citizens in the hundreds of thousands per day and quarantining those infected so as to slow down the spread, because the numbers infected in the US are literally going to start to explode on a parabolic curve. As I warned in my last analysis of the consequences of the failure of the CDC to test patients, likely already had 4,000 people infected roaming America Street, shopping malls and stadiums and such like, infecting many others every day. And that was based on numbers 5 days ago, since when the actual number of infected for the US has probably more than doubled. Whilst the trend now projects to 27,300 by the end of March, however, the US being on a parabolic curve means the number infected could easily exceed the number to a total more than 40,000 infected. Similarly, the number of deaths is now running at over 4 times my forecast expectations that could project to 650 deaths by the end of March. So if you want to know why the stock market is plunging to new lows every other day, then likely these are the numbers the stock analysts and traders are resolving to that they are attempting to discount. So the UK and US continue to scramble to react to unfolding coronavirus pandemic as governments and health officials have effectively sat on their asses for the whole of February, done nothing, learned nothing from China, learned nothing from South Korea that are held up as a model for what the West should follow, so as to prevent a catastrophic case fatality rate of as high as 3.5%. Whilst following South Korea's example offered a case fatality rate of 0.64%, far less than China's, as I covered in a series of articles and videos. I had expected the infections trend curves for the West to be shallower and longer, i.e. the green line, thus allowing for healthcare systems to be better able to cope with the seriously ill. Unfortunately, as we are likely to find out, no coronavirus lessons have been learned. It's as though those in charge were completely oblivious to the pandemic until this week. Thus, the US and UK, to a lesser extent, look set to experience the red line, whilst all those singing China's praises at the moment fail to realise that China's pandemic will resume when they start to lift restrictions, though with a less sharp peak, i.e. the blue line, which is why to expect a global recession for 2020, because the worst of the coronavirus pain is yet to come, i.e. we in the West are at the 2-month mark following the red line trend trajectory, so you can imagine how bad things are going to quickly get, whilst the fools at the WHO have finally declared what has been blindingly obvious for some time, that a global pandemic is underway. The bottom line is that the actions being announced this week in the UK and US are too late to prevent much worse pandemic than what would otherwise have been the case. So it is time to batten down the hatches and protect ourselves, in which respect vitamin D can help lessen respiratory tract infections, as I covered in my recent videos. So perhaps the number one thing you can do right now to prepare yourselves for the coming coronavirus storm is to bolster your immune systems by getting yourself some vitamin D3 from 25 micrograms, i.e. 1000 IU strength, up to 100 micrograms or 4000 IU. Also make sure you're buying D3 and not the less effective D2. Do that before entertaining other supplements and devices such as virus and bacteria killing UVC lamps. Coronavirus stocks bear market trend forecast implications. The rest of this extensive analysis has first been made available to patrons who support my work. So for immediate first access to all of my analysis and trend forecasts, then do consider becoming a patron by supporting my work for just $3 per month. And also ensure you're subscribed to this YouTube channel for the next video in this coronavirus pandemic series.